I guess we all like climbing, and what kills the joy of climbing more than not being able to progress after 3 months of just consistently climbing and doing your own thing, which kind of sucks. Now you may be thinking, could it possibly be because I haven't changed anything these past 3 months? Nah, that can't possibly be it. Could it be because I've never hangboarded before consistently? Nah, let's not be ridiculous. Could it be because you never projected? Please. Now, could it be because you never moonboarded? It's probably that one. Let's talk about it. If you're climbing gym V3, V5, and you haven't seriously ever moonboarded before, and you feel like you just want to bump up your climbing capabilities by a tad a lot, moonboard. Because the thing about moonboarding is this very hard, very physical, very fingery style of climbing. Perhaps you are not accustomed to this style, in which case the immediate hit to your face of the change will stimulate immediate growth. Before I explain why, I would quickly like to touch on the subject that's always associated with any type of board climbing, not just moonboarding, and that is a high risk of injuring your fingers. But climbing in itself is inherently dangerous. You learned that during your orientation the first time you visited a bouldering gym, climbing gym, I hope you remember. So of course moonboarding is dangerous. It's climbing, and climbing, all forms of climbing, is inherently dangerous. You can argue it's more dangerous, you can argue it's not. Different day. I would just like to break it down because I'm sure deep down that the real reason why people don't like moonboarding has nothing to do with the fact that it may be more likely to injure you, but simply because it's not very easy. It's hard climbing, and hard climbing is sometimes not fun. And when it's not fun, why would you do something that's not fun? Very simple math. Because look here, people do plenty of dangerous, dumb things that are fun. For example, driving while drunk, putting yourself in very precarious blackout situations because you just love downing it. It's not danger that stops you from doing something. Is it fun? I worry about what happens afterwards. That's how people think. Same thing with the moonboard. So can we all agree that the moonboard danger factor is not what drives people away? It's the not fun factor that people realize immediately upon trying it once or twice or thrice. So the solution here is really simple. It's learn how to have fun on the moonboard. And that can come in many ways, shapes, and forms. But before you learn how to have fun, you have to actually give it a chance. You have to actually dive in and learn a little bit about the game and the rules before you can decide whether you like playing it. Because right now you not much experience. You feel me? It's time you start doing get better type stuff if you want to get better. And one way, just one way, not the only way, moonboard. When you first start your epic journey, you're gonna select benchmarks. Benchmarks are universally recognized moonboard climbs that people agree are pretty good. After that, you're gonna sort by most repeats. This means it's gonna push the most repeated problem to the top of the list. Generally speaking, it should be the easiest problem. Generally speaking, it should be. It's not always. From there, you just go back to the list of problems, and you should have an entire new array of boulders to mess with. Of course, obviously, we're gonna start with V4 or V3, depending on which moonboard layout you have, upon which there are 4 moonboard layouts. Now, before you climb your first problem, select it, and then let's go over the basic conducts of moonboard climbing. First thing first, that green light you see, that's where your hands begin. If there's 2 holes, each of your hands goes to one of those. If there's 1 hole, both of your hands go to that 1 hole. The blue light indicates the direction upon which you will climb, and the red light is simply where you will finish with a 2-hand match. I will tell you now that all moonboard problems are sit-start problems, meaning you have to start with your butt planted on the ground before you elevate and move off. Of course, this may be slightly limiting if you have really short arms, or your moonboard is a little bit slightly messed up with a really large kickboard, in which case if you start standing, nobody's really gonna call you out on it too much. You notice these yellow holes right here, these square yellow holes. All of these yellow holes are on for your feet, just the square ones on the kickboard. This allows you a variety of starting positions, and it kind of makes it a little bit specific to how you like to climb. Keep in mind, I am just strictly referring to these yellow footholds. I'm not referring to the yellow hole. Lastly, you cannot toe hook nor heel hook the sides of the moonboard. You just can't. Now, you as a newer climber to the moonboard, I will recommend to you what I always recommend newer climbers to the moonboard do, which is to try a problem 3 to 5 times with approximately 2 to 5 minutes rest per attempt. You're gonna do that for approximately 45 to 60 minutes, upon which you are done. You're gonna try to repeat that, my bad. You are going to repeat that twice a week. That right there should get you up and running and give you something a little bit to focus on, but shouldn't take over your life in a sense. Now, what makes moonboarding so succulent? Well, it's very densely packed with a ton of hard moves with a very, very safe fall zone. Ultimately, this means you can try infinitely hard in an infinitely array of directions, movements, and on holds without ever having the fear of busting your stuff up from a high fall. This also means you don't have to climb 10 to 20 feet to try a crux move, where on the moonboard, it's probably the beginning, middle, or top move. If it's a top move, you simply have to yuck one rung higher and you're there already. It's very easy to try hard moves on the moonboard, generally speaking. And where seasons come and go and walls change, the moonboard will forever stay the same. Imagine a world where your projects never disappear. That world is called the moonboard. And this world exists anywhere moonboards exist. Now, the moonboard does sit at like 40 degrees overhung. This means that you have to be really active with your feet constantly pushing down. But this also gives rise to cut loose moves. This creates a very powerful, active way of climbing. Whether your feet's on the wall or off the wall, it's gonna be very physical. And because the moonboard is very, very taxing, you get a lot of bang for your buck. So instead of having a long 3-hour session climbing kind of mediocre to hard climbs, you could just have one really hard 1-hour session with high quality attempts on these moonboard holds and these moonboard climbs. Therefore, it's very time efficient in that manner as well. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that I have already concocted 10 easier moonboard problems for the 2016 moonboard layout. I will link a video in the description if you want to check those out. And lastly, just like with anything, consistency over time when introducing a new variable into your life is how you gauge the effectiveness of it. So you can't just moonboard once, twice, thrice and automatically assume it doesn't work. No, you have to try at least 4 to 8 sessions and come to the ultimate conclusion that yes, it has made you a better climber. I highly recommend, if you never ever moonboarded before, go moonboard. Try to find the easiest problems. There are easy problems, 100% guaranteed. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time, partner.